In this video, we're going to talk about what to do if DCS has taken your kids here in Indiana. If you're in this situation, it's about one of the worst things you can experience in a family law case, but there's actually a few things you can do to help navigate the situation, improve your odds in court, and challenge DCS, and we're going to talk about that. So there's two types of situations where you typically would see a removal in Indiana. The first is if there's some kind of abuse that they're alleging, where they believe there's some kind of harm to the children's emotional or physical health, or if there's some kind of neglect that they believe is harmful to the child's emotional or physical well-being, where they're alleging the conditions in the home are so bad or unsafe that they remove the kids to ensure safety. So that's what they would be looking at when they're making the allegations to try and remove a child. So if your children are removed, the court has to hold a removal hearing within the first 48 hours, not including weekends, but within business days. So the court will hear evidence as to why DCS removed the child, and you're going to have an opportunity to present evidence as to why the removal is unnecessary or the children should be returned. If you're facing a removal hearing, you want to gather evidence about why the children were removed and potentially challenge that evidence depending on what's being alleged. And then you're going to want to get evidence around, is your home safe? Pictures of the kids' beds, pictures of the home environment. Sometimes if they have concerns about something going on in your home, you may want to create a safety plan around what that looks like. I'm going to show you an example of one. You can also challenge the allegations that DCS has against you. And if you're going to challenge allegations, you're going to want to definitely talk to an attorney. So seek legal representation. You can also identify other placement options and get the children moved to a different place, for instance, getting them moved out of foster care at a removal hearing. So here's an example of a safety plan here. The mother is indicating that she's not going to leave the children unsupervised, that she will have her home improved by DCS and remove any hazard. Then is agreeing that if they're placed with her, that she's going to cooperate with DCS to allow them in. And then she's also agreeing to DCS's proposed services in the meantime. This is an example of what that looks like. It's different in every kind of situation. A safety plan is something you can present at a removal hearing, which is designed to help the judge understand what you're willing to do to ensure safety of the child, to appease the court for the time being while the case is pending. If you are involved in a DCS case, you actually have a lot of rights. You have a right to know the allegations. You have a right to be present at all the court hearings. They would appoint an attorney for you if you can't afford one. And then you have the right to challenge DCS's decisions and actions in court. If you are involved in a DCS case, it's important to be respectful. It's frustrating and hard, but also these are the people that are making decisions around your family. So you want to be respectful and befriend the enemy in terms of being nice and get them to come to your side a little. I always tell people they don't know you. They have heard some bad allegations, and ultimately you got to let them in a little strategically so they can get to know your family, so they know enough to know that nothing's there and they can back away. So that's what you want to do if you're involved with DCS. And if they do come, I can go in and see your home if you allow them. They could also ask you to do things like drug tests. You ultimately don't have to do that, but sometimes it's more advantageous to do it and to cooperate, but you're going to want to talk to an attorney about that. And they can't remove a child without justification. They can't enter your home without permission, things like that. If they do remove the child, there are a lot of placement considerations. And this is a big area where they sometimes get it wrong. Ultimately, they have to look to family first. They want to see placement with suitable relatives or some person, potentially, they call it a facto custodian, but if you have a person around who has actually cared for the child a lot in the past, they may go to that de facto custodian too. But it's important to talk about this stuff early because they do a lot of background checks on everybody in the home, and then they need to do a home visit, and that can take some time. So if DCS is removing your children, you want to act quick and get them the information on who you want them placed with so they can start those background checks. Ultimately, it's important to get that stuff quickly because DCS can sometimes drag their feet with this. So you want to make sure that they have this information and you have an attorney who can drive that process forward to get your children out of foster care or get them into your preferred placement as soon as possible. It's also important to know that in a DCS case, there are what's known as pretrial services. The safety plan I showed talked a little bit about this, but sometimes DCS wants you to do a couple of things to ease their concerns. And what that can look like is sometimes they have you do parenting classes. Sometimes there's some random drug screens. Sometimes there's some substance abuse classes. Sometimes you want to do these pretrial services quick because if you do those, it can give DCS enough to know that they have nothing on you, that the reasons for the children were removed have been remedied, and that you can get the kids back and ultimately potentially get the case dismissed if you haven't been to a fact finding yet. So it's important to talk about pretrial services, know they're out there, and engage with the right ones. So if you have questions, give me a call. I work with this kind of stuff every week, so I'd be happy to review your case, talk to you about what's going on with DCS in your situation, and see what we can do. So here's my number. Give me a call or text me. I'd be happy to talk.